As being the Vice-Chancellor, I do have the honor and privilege to welcome all of you to this one-day workshop on West Asia in a Fragmented Global Order, Security Dynamics and Economic Implications. Well, we have with us Mr. M.J. Akbar, and when I had the opportunity to look at some of his books, right from M.J. Akbar's Tinder Box, his book on Kashmir, his prolific writing on Nehru, then his latest book being After Me Chaos, which is about how astrology played its part in Mughal period. It's a very indeed great book, and I'm going through this book, and I have had the opportunity to get this gift from M.J. Akbarji when I was in Delhi. Then there are a plethora of books that he has written, The State of Swords, and his book on Gandhi's Hinduism, A Mirror to Power, then Gandhi Life in his campaign, then his book on India, and as a journalist, he had written a book called Byline. These are some of the books being written by M.J. Akbar. So, sir, we are very much privileged and honored to have you amongst us in our university. Well, this is a very burning topic that confronts all of us. I'd just like to flag off certain issues for your consideration, and I have essentially 6 points to make. That is how the global order has been changing, the 2 or 3 premises on which American hegemony is rested upon. Then thirdly, I'd just like to draw your attention to the current conundrum in West Asia, that a new form of warfare that has emerged in West Asia. Then 5th point is, can we call it a kind of clash of civilization? And if so, what are its limitations? Then how, my 6th point will be the process of de-escalation, can we call it really de-escalation? And what could be the possible role of India in the days to come? These are some of the issues that I thought I would flag off for your consideration and analysis. Well, when talking about global order, the global order long anchored in the unquestioned dominance of the United States is entering a phase of visible transition. What once appeared as an unchallenged hegemony, military, ideological and institutional, is now being contested across regions and theaters of conflict. The recent developments in West Asia, particularly involving Iran and the United States, have brought this shift into proper relief and proper picture. Now, what are the premises of American hegemony? I believe American global leadership is rested on 2 or 3 pillars. One is strategic doctrine, second is ideological conviction, and third is economic predominance. The Monroe Doctrine, originally confined to the Western Hemisphere, gradually expanded its spirit to justify a broader global role, especially after the Second World War. Alongside this was the idea of American exceptionalism. This belief that the United States represent the highest culminating point of legal liberty, equality, justice, and so on and so forth. Particularly, this notion of exceptionalism was amplified, was demonstrated by various books like Daniel Will's The End of Ideology, Francis Fukuyama's The End of History and the Last Man, and many other books have talked about this kind of America's exceptionalism. However, recent evidence suggests that both these pillars are under strain. There is misalignment between the strategic goals of the United States and its ability to project power given the relative decline in its economy and the rise of its competitive powers. Now, if we look at the situation in West Asia, nowhere is the shift more evident than in West Asia region, where the United States has historically functioned as the principal security provider. Since the mid-20th century, American military presence and alliance have underwritten the stability of several Gulf nations, positioning Washington as an indispensable umbrella power. Iran has demonstrated ability to target American military installation and strategic assets in the region, and it has exposed limitations in the United States' capacity to guarantee security. The long-held notion of America's unassailable protector is no longer taken for granted. Regional actors are increasingly aware of the fact that reliance on a single security provider may not ensure stability in the era of shifting geopolitical dynamics. And what we find today, a new form of warfare, a critical dimension of this transformation lies in the emergence of a new warfare being initiated by Iran. Iran's strategy reflects a sophisticated model of asymmetrical warfare, combining decentralization with adaptability. Instead of relying solely on conventional centralized military operations, it has adopted a network approach, deploying relatively low-cost technologies such as drones and missiles, which is known to all of us. This dual strategy of vertical and horizontal warfare has redefined conflict. Vertical strikes enable targeted attacks on critical infrastructure, while horizontal operations extend the battlefield to actors and locations previously considered to be peripheral or marginal. Now that brings us to the concept of clash of civilization and what are its limitations. In many ways, the present movement appears to echo what Samuel Huntington called to be clash of civilization. Huntington had argued that in the post-Cold War era, the primary source of conflict would shift from ideological rivalries to cultural and civilizational premises. He also cautioned that the West believed in the universality of its values could provide resistance from non-Western countries. What we are witnessing today, particularly in West Asia, reflects this dimension of tension not merely as clash of arms, but a deeper theme over legitimacy, control, and global world order. Yet, the complex reality is more nuanced than a simple civilizational binary. The emerging conflicts are across alliances and geographies, involving actors that do not neatly fit into these fixed categories. Now that brings me to the conclusion by saying that when we talk about de-escalation, in the current context remains uncertain. While diplomatic language may suggest restraint, developments on the ground indicate continued volatility. Both sides appear unwilling to concede to the strategic ground. Well, let me conclude by saying that given these conditions that US is confronted with, what is inevitably emerging is a more multipolar and fluid world power, where power is distributed across multiple actors and constantly negotiated. Now, in this context, how countries of Global South, like India, given the depth of India's US relations and New Delhi's relationship with Iran, thus the balancing act will be tested in coming days. With these words, I welcome once again all our esteemed colleagues and particularly MJ Akbar Damoria for having agreed to come here, and we are all waiting to listen to you, sir. With these words, I conclude my speech. Thank you.